right, I'd like to call to order the Corcoran Parks and Trails Commission for December 19th, 2024. Starting with roll call, Christensen here.
Friedrich here.
Anderson here.
Schmidt here.
Nybo here.
Great, and I invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the agenda. Is everyone good with the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. All right, meeting minutes. Anyone have comments, corrections? They're nice and long.
Yes, they were.
So I had the holiday toy and food drive last week. It was very busy. There was a lot of follow-up and pre-work. My supervisor, Natalie Davis-McEwen, the community development director, actually put together all of the minutes and then was kind enough to leave my name on it so that I could get credit. And they are very detailed, and I'm very grateful that she took the time to do it. So if you have any adjustments, we can certainly make them though.
Looks like it's word for word.
Transcribed. The move to approve is written.
Great, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that passes as well. Open forum. Nobody's here. So we can move on to presentations, which we have none, so unfinished business, the park enhancement program.
Yes, so the park enhancement program, reminder, put some pep in your park. That's this one. It's really honing in on those enhancements like drinking fountains, bike racks, benches, things that are smaller in size that aren't a full sponsorship like a building or a splash pad or things of that nature. Back on the 20th of June, I got some feedback from you all. Maintenance and installation costs, it was reflected to include that in the donation cost. Define what upgrading existing amenities would entail. Adding drinking fountain and fire table options, including non-English language options for plaques, and then using durable natural colored tones for the examples. I came back in November just to get kind of, hey, here's your policy again, I haven't made any adjustments, but here's kind of a route I want to go for how to implement it, which was See My Legacy. You recommended approval to the City Council, and then on the 25th of November, they subsequently approved it. So we will be moving forward with See My Legacy. That was that $1,529 and a few odd cents, and that will be used for 2025. We are working to get something set up with them so that we can get the program lifted off, but first we got to have a program in place, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So some notable changes in the policy. I really want to hone in on city park options, right? We're going to need bike racks there, we're going to need benches there, we're going to pretty much kind of be starting from scratch there. So we're going to need these amenities. So really considering that when we're looking at the policy and the examples is going to be helpful, but also keeping in mind that it will go in neighborhood parks and open space parks and what have you. We can discuss if there's alternative examples that you want, but tonight we're really focusing on the policy. So just being mindful of city park options while we're moving forward. Fire tables, Vice Chair Friedrich had requested fire tables and everyone seemed to be in agreement with that. And then I started to look into them and I found that you can install them with a line, you can install them with a propane tank. There's a lot of questions that I'm going to have to follow up with our Public Works team and probably our Public Safety team as well, just to make sure that we're going the right route with that. So with that, and just kind of the not even going to try and say that word now. With that and all of the delicate pieces of this, I'm shifting from having the examples in the policy. I think if we remove the examples from the policy proper, it keeps it more timeless. We don't have to update it so often. And then if we want to change the options, that's just a separate thing that we can do. But really focusing on the policy layout language. And then I did add the non-English language for plaques. Tonight, the big feedback that I'm looking for everyone on is the policy what it should be. Does this seem to cover what you were looking for in the policy? Are there any adjustments that we've missed in the first couple of rounds? Are there any changes you want to see? The other feedback is regarding the examples. So these are two kind of separate items. The policy, if recommended for approval, would then go to council. And then in January, I think it's the 19th or the 20th is our next meeting. I would come back to you guys with any feedback from the council on what they thought on the policy and if they approved it. I would come back with more specific examples because I'd also like to get feedback from you guys tonight on the examples provided and if I'm headed in the right direction. I don't need approval on the examples. What I'm looking for more than anything is to move the policy itself forward and then feedback on the examples. So a motion on the policy, feedback on the examples. Some other feedback I'm looking for as I continue to move forward with the policy. I was looking into pricing for some of the things that were requested. Concrete pads / footings, we're looking at about $1,000 to $2,000 per amenity, and that's also dependent on what the amenity is, if we're installing multiple amenities at one time. Shipping costs can be upwards of $400, I think is what the shipping cost was for the bike rack that we recently installed. Dependent on enhancement, again, it's going to be dependent on weight, it's going to be dependent on where it's coming from, there's a lot of things. The plaques themselves, so See My Legacy has the QR code plaques. The $49 one is simply a QR code that could be scanned. I would not recommend that, has no text with it. And we did have some concerns last meeting about people not knowing what the QR code was and then potentially thinking it might be spam. So I think the $89 one would be the recommendation I would make to you all to consider. It allows you to have the QR code as well as a short blurb, but then once you scan the QR code, it brings you to that web page where they can provide a lot more information about who they're making this donation in memorial of or on behalf of. There's also a $199 option. It might be a little much for many of the amenities, more suited for like a building or something larger. That would make more sense for that option. But if the plaque is something that you would like to include the cost of in the donation. Maintenance, again, this would be very incident specific. It all depends on what would happen to this enhancement and what would be required to fix or repair or what have you. And if that is desired to be included in the cost of the donation, I would want more information. Is that staff time? Is that supply and equipment cost? How do you want me to determine that cost? Is there a portion of any of this that the city you feel should be covering since it's a donated enhancement? And are any of the shown options for enhancement examples preferred, not preferred, different color, different style? I mean, really hone in on the policy, but then afterwards we can get into, are these examples headed in the right direction? Next steps would entail having the city attorney review the policy and provide feedback from his end. Bring the information to council on the 9th, and if we don't have feedback by then, I have seen in the past where we've said with potential changes from the city attorney as necessary. And then working with See My Legacy to set up that online page, working with our park consultants to determine the locations within City Park, and then working with city staff to really hone in on those additional locations. Let's say Wildflower Park, if staff feels like there needs to be another bench there, we can provide that as an option for an enhancement versus having to use park dedication necessarily for it. So those are kind of my quick overview points, but if there's anything you want me to go back to on the slides, I'd be more than happy to. If there's any questions, I can help answer.
I have more of a question about the kind of background workings. It's like, is the intent to have the benches that the park or the remodel, branded, themed, those are the ones that will be available then on the site, like through the contractor? Or is it gonna be like, we'll have our playground, and then we'll have like other benches that don't, like, are all the things supposed to be themed, I guess is the question.
We could go that route. I mean, if, let's say the playground was an agricultural theme, and you wanted more specific, like, ag benches, like you found this really cool tractor bench, we could adjust to have that there. As these one-offs kind of come up, that's definitely a discussion point, and we can come and go, hey, what are your thoughts on adjusting this enhancement to not be the standard one and maybe having it be a specialty one? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if it was aligned with the park and the themes of the park.
I have a quick question too. So in talking about like the concrete pad footings and if the city would be like partially funding some of that since we need those things in those areas anyways, that might be a nice thing to do until we get what we need in each park. Do we know like how many we want per year, just so we could budget for that? So like if you have 17 of them and each concrete pad is $2,000, well that's a lot of money to be funding, but if there's only like maybe 4, that's like a little bit more doable. And then we're getting our park benches too.
I think with city park, furnishings is one of the things that's included in the budget. Fixtures, furnishings, and there's one other one. And so I would say with it being budgeted, this would essentially be saving the city some of that money that could be used for other things. Did that make
So
sense?
I think we're dealing with two things. One is we're putting in the park, which needs benches, especially at the main city park, right? But then you have something like Wildflower where someone may come in and say, hey, I'd love a bench here and I'd love to give some money to the city for that. I think they're two separate things because you could buy the plaque for the bench and we could have some sort of flat fee for doing that, not just the cost of the plaque. But we need those benches there. But then some park where there's not something there, we would also have a flat fee. Maybe it's different, maybe it's more in line with, hey, we didn't have a bench here, so you gotta pay for most of it. But I think that's what you're looking for, right? Is feedback on that and how we
Yes.
handle the situations?
How do you want to handle it? And yeah.
Because there's gonna be benches that won't have a plaque on it. And someone's gonna see a plaque and be like, boy, I'd like to do that. So then they pick their bench out that's already there and then they can pay X amount of dollars.
And I would be hesitant to doing that just because the way the policy is currently written, existing benches aren't really included in there because it's hard to do like, how does that lifespan add up? I would say it's hard to sell someone on something that's already there, that's already been worn in, that's already been used. I can't really promise a timeline on that. But like, if it were Wildflower Park and a bench is not already there and we have to do a full install, is that a different price? Is that what?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have two different policies maybe, or A and B or something. It's up to the person who's donating the money who wants the plaque to say, I don't want that bench. That one's clearly old and it's gonna need to be
It's on its last legs.
replaced,
Right.
right? But if someone says, boy, I wanna put my name on a bench, or my ex whatever's name on a bench, someone could pick a bench out versus, well, we really don't need any benches right now, and the next park isn't coming for another 2 years or something. So I think we should make all the benches and whatever we want to allow them to have plaques on available, and people will naturally go away from the ones that are older and maybe a little out of shape.
Yeah.
I would lean towards, we should have a flat fee. If you want to get your plaque on, let's just say it's just benches, maybe we can expand that later, but if it's just benches, well, we know even if the bench is already there, we already spent $5,000.
Yeah, it might make this program more appeasing if you kind of use that to get it going. Like
Yeah.
existing benches that the city paid for.
So on one hand, you can buy a plaque and put it on an existing bench. We'll just say that's $2,000 for the sake of argument right now. But then, hey, I'd love to put a bench here and I'd love to put a plaque on it. Okay, well you gotta pay 50% of the cost or something like that.
So I have a follow-up question. If you're putting it on a bench that already exists there, what is the time frame that we are guaranteeing that donation? Because that's where the struggle comes in, is we've got a 10-year lifespan on the benches and stuff? Is it 10 years from the point that we purchased the bench, or is it 10 years that the plaque got
For
installed
the
on it?
person donating to then say, you will have your plaque on here for X number of years.
How do you determine that?
No, that's what I was just clarifying, is that what you're
Yes.
asking?
Yes.
We either have, if it's a used bench, we don't have a guarantee.
Okay.
Or you could say, hey, it's a used bench, new benches get 10 years, so we're gonna, if we replace the bench, then you get another X number of years or something. That seems a little too complicated, so I would just leave it at, hey, here's the bench. If it needs to be fixed or replaced, then too bad. But you also get it cheaper because the bench is already there.
I think that's hard if you don't do like a prorated amount, and I think once you get into the prorated amount,
It's just too much. Why do you need a prorate though?
I mean, to be fair, if you're getting a used bench.
But it's up to them to decide if
That's
they
fair.
want the bench, right? And maybe there's no benches they want, they're gonna wait for a new one.
I can tell you, I have reviewed many a policy, and I have not seen a single one that allowed existing benches to get,
A plaque on it. Okay.
because of,
Well,
well,
that real
consider
estate's
it,
just
because you're
sitting there.
putting your money towards something that you don't know how long it's gonna last,
If
it's a hard
I
sell.
were gonna do a plaque, and I might not think like the
We can be
average,
the
whatever.
first.
I mean, why not? We're new and exciting, I guess. If I see, hey, there's a bench there, it looks in good shape, and I'm gonna save $1,000
Or more.
or more versus going and tell the city I wanna donate a bench and everything, I might lean towards that bench, and it's not being used for anything.
How much were these plaques again?
Well, the plaque is $89, basically.
Or a big one for 200.
But I think we want to use this as an encouragement, how to bring new things to the park. So that's where you'd want to, that's where I'd be leaning towards, you want to have only new benches, because a lot of the point of this is to bring
Well, the
extra
point
funds.
is to allow people to put things in honor of their family, friends. That's one of the points. The other would be, yes, it'd be nice to have new equipment.
And some people might not have as much to put towards a bench, so it might be really, like, they might really like that option of having an existing bench and having it on that bench, even though they know it might only last for 5 years instead of 10.
And the other point would be, we are getting additional money in, which we wouldn't otherwise have on these used pieces of equipment. And that can go into our fund then to fund new
Or
benches. and
repairs for
things,
that
Or
bench.
repairs, or whatever it
Or
is.
something.
And since all the park equipment will be new, kind of takes care of the concern you have, because then maybe it's a temporary, like the first year, you can pick anything of the new park and put one of those on it, and then after that, maybe see how it goes.
Yeah, and we could have.
That I think is different. I think what I was hearing from,
An existing.
yeah, like
Somewhere
if
it's
there
been
was
there for
one,
5
I keep
years.
using Wildflower and I keep picking
Yeah.
on it, but even if there was I can't use any of the benches back here, they all have names on them.
Mm-hmm.
But if there was a bench at Wildflower, I mean, at this point it is 5 years old, 6 years old. So how much do you charge for it? And if they go back and watch this meeting and see that the cost of the plaque is $89, how much are you gonna charge them
The
above?
cost of plaque is irrelevant to the,
I'm just playing devil's advocate, trying to make sure that I can write the,
yeah. Maybe there's a,
What could secure them is the option when that bench does need replacing, they get first choice then. So they're paying, let's just say $2,000 or whatever, let's say $1,000 for that bench, plus they're doing their little Q code. They get first option now, and it'd be easy to know what it was because their name's already on the bench. Because maybe they want to be in Wildflower Park because they have fond memories there. Or how many benches do we have right now, not including the Memorial Park ones?
There's 2 in Wildflower Park.
So like, is it even gonna be that big of an issue right now? It could be that everybody wants those benches too.
We put in, I mean, the ones that were put in look like they're gonna last a long time. I mean, out of the,
they should
Are they the
last at
Resley's?
least.
they look like,
Recycled?
they look like option, yeah,
yeah, and if
recycled.
someone wants to put a plaque on a used bench, we'll at least have the data to say, well, it's been there for 10 years already, it's fading, just so you know.
It's up to
You
you.
could do it, sure, but
Yeah.
it could go away within a year or two.
Are you saying though, on these recycled plastic or whatever, do they have a 10-year lifespan?
Yes.
That is
10-year
what
warranty
they
or
say.
10-year lifespan?
Minimum.
That makes sense.
That's not like at 10 years, if it still looks great, we're gonna rip it out.
No. That's why I just didn't know how long this stuff lasted. I mean,
It should last minimum 10 years.
That raises the question, what if someone wants to have their name on a bench, that's scheduled for demolition, does the city pay for the demolition, or do they pay for the demolition? And then the replacement bench, if they pick that bench?
I would say that since they're getting a brand new bench in that spot, I would recommend that they only pay for the bench
Okay.
proper, because we'd be replacing the bench either way.
Anyways,
And some of those should be up to that review process that's laid out. There should be some, maybe.
Yeah, it's not like they, hey, I want to think, well, okay, we'll do it automatically because you asked.
How are these plaques attached to the bench?
I want to say screwed in.
Sticky or screwed in, yeah.
I'd have to look a little deeper. I didn't
Yeah,
expect
they-
that question.
Are they out of brass, or what, do we know what they're even made out of?
We saw them last week, they were like, or last month, yeah, it was like metal.
was it metal or was it plastic?
Give me just a second. I can pull up
Something
the
metal
actual.
resistant, but-
Because metal can rust, depending on what kind of metal it was, so I bet you it's plastic. Or
It's
recycled
stainless
plastic.
Yeah, I bet you're right, but
Can you say
platinum.
Yeah, plastic doesn't like this.
Oh, okay.
That's not my issue.
Curious.
So I have a question about, just
Okay.
about the,
So the lights are the same
the
product.
park enhancement program, the document. And I'm thinking that when somebody comes in and says, I'd like to have a bench, that they're gonna be engaged in a conversation with the staff and with us and with the city council about what it is they want and why they want it and where it's gonna go. And so, for instance, it says location. Location of enhancements will be determined through staff, Parks and Trails Commission, and the city council. I think it also we should include the discussion with the donor. We should include the donor in there. They should have some say in that.
So with the See My Legacy program,
Yep.
we would have a map that would have predetermined locations
Okay,
that they can choose from.
Okay.
The final bullet under location says, interested parties may submit a location request, not shown. However, the city may limit the number of enhancements at a particular location. So that kind of gives them the opportunity to present one if they have a spot that
Okay.
they'd like to see.
okay.
Is that,
That's fine. I would think we might consider right at the top end of that program, of the description, saying, what we're trying to set up here is something that will encourage citizens of Corcoran or friends of Corcoran to engage in, to honor something, I don't know.
The policy.
But, yeah, through what seems to everybody an appropriate gift. Somehow this is not just a sort of mechanical process, it is a discussion that would involve both the donor and the city staff and the Parks and Trails and so.
I'm gonna be honest, part of the
Sure.
reason that we went with See My Legacy, hi Thomas, you can sit up here. Part of the reason we went with See My Legacy is because I don't have a lot of time to be having a lot of conversations, so this helps kind of expedite that. But I think if there is like a specialized location,
Yeah.
that definitely is gonna
Yeah.
be a
Okay.
conversation. I think people who know specifically what they're looking for, that they want to donate and a general idea,
Okay.
would probably go through the process. Now, we're still gonna be talking to them because they're still gonna have, an overview of what they want on this storyboard that they're creating, which, by the way, the plaques are anodized aluminum plaques. So, aluminum.
That's good.
They should last a while.
Mhm.
But they will more than likely have a general idea of what park they want it at, and I think more often than not, having those predetermined locations is probably more helpful, both for staff and for the public, because they know what to expect, we know what to expect, and we're using consultants for, I keep using City Park, but we're gonna have predetermined locations for
Yep.
those. Otherwise, it'd be really hard to plan around every time someone wants to bring in a location.
Yep, and as the parks get used, there may turn out that there are other locations that really should have had a bench to
Yeah.
start with. 'Cause-
What is it, cow paths? people
There
make
you go.
cow paths,
Yep,
and
yep, yep.
then we find out that, all right, this is a better way to do it, and we
That's
can
what I said.
definitely address it.
Yeah, okay, that's fine, that's good, thank you.
But do you want me to put something more personalized at the top that makes it a little less hard?
Yeah,
Does that
a little softer.
soften it up a little?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel that it has to come back after I soften it before it goes to council?
It's
I'm
good.
okay if you say yes, it just delays the See My Legacy part, which is either way.
I trust you.
Yeah, I do too. You're softening it.
Yeah. One other layer, I was trying to see if I could find it, but just the idea of like one per bench, like, you know, you can't put something on a bench that already has
You
a
have them on
thing.
there that,
Yeah, and it's like a first come, first serve type of situation, maybe just a statement about that would help.
One donation doesn't have to necessarily be like one, I don't wanna say one donor, cause then it might limit like a family.
Sure.
Does that work?
Yeah,
One dedication.
one
One
dedication per item.
It's like having Chat GPT.
So we're talking about still two different things, about doing a possible on existing benches, doing the My Legacy on those, and also on new benches, right? Those are the two things we just talked about,
Well, I think there's three.
three
right?
things?
There's memory on existing, memory on new that the city pays for, and then memory on the one that they pay for, right? And would that need to be spelled out in this?
I would say if it's new, then the city's probably not
Not gonna,
paying for it.
right.
Are you
But-
saying
the
like,
memory.
What we install at like City Park,
there's gonna be
And-
some benches over there.
They're,
Right.
yeah,
that
within a year
people may
old.
want to dedicate.
I think if they're there already, you would put the memorial on it at a lesser rate. If it's a new bench, they pay for it.
what constitutes new?
Yeah.
Within what time frame?
Less
That's where I'm
than a
starting
year.
to say like these
So less
existing
than a
benches,
year.
that's, I think, part of the reason people don't.
Mm-hmm.
to get
Because
treatment.
if you have a brand new bench at City Park, is that the same price as the ones that are at Wildflower? I mean, it's
Meaning,
really,
wait, talk more about that.
Well-
If you have a new bench, it's a new bench, it's not been installed, so if you want to put,
already installed. So
Oh,
like
okay.
to
Gotcha.
Commissioner Schmidt's point, let's say we go through the park project, we install a few benches, a few of them got donated, those would be full cost, right?
Where's the
Under-
opportunity for them to donate? Right, because we're
Before-
installing them.
Before we install them, because technically we're not gonna have anything installed until June at the earliest, and that would be when we start the project. So we have time to predetermine those locations, start the See My Legacy process, and have people, before we even start the project in June, they could be picking out where they want those benches.
purchasing those ahead
Or
of
not
time.
picking out where, but picking out which bench they want. Now, if we start the project, let's say they come through in October, and let's say we're all wrapped up and things look good, but we have some benches that haven't been claimed, what's that price versus the one at Wildflower? Because now this one's been installed for how many months, and it's still a used bench at this
Gotcha.
point.
How about this? How about the benches don't go in unless someone is making a donation towards them?
And then you don't have benches.
So we need some
Well,
Well,
benches
how
in
long
the
was it
park,
before we
right?
had benches at Wildflower?
Too long and
Yeah.
not appropriate,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
would be my staff.
What
I
I'm
would
getting
say
at
if we
is-
don't have benches, that's a problem.
Is I'm getting at is you don't want people to just do the
Bunch of
benches,
blacks.
right, you don't, like, if you have benches that are existing, and we're trying to promote people to do those benches too with the memorial, if you don't have any benches in your city park, that's gonna make people wanna put a bench there. Especially if the city is helping cover some of the costs, like we talked about that up here somewhere, where you said, would the city be willing to donate partially for that?
I don't think we're planning to install an excessive amount of benches.
Okay.
I think we would be installing the appropriate amount of benches, so to eliminate any of those benches, I would have hesitation that now we don't have seating for patrons that
Mhm.
visit. And while it might encourage people to donate, there are still park dedication tax dollars and budgeted funds that should be going towards that. This is just an opportunity to offset some of that cost, should people want to donate, would be what I've gathered from every other policy I've read. And I'm not saying we have to be like other cities, but I think that there's a reason why they went through the whole not having existing benches and not just eliminating benches from a current plan to hopefully get one donated. Does that,
The other lever you could pull was I know in there it had a list of different, like the footings and the shipping costs. You know, those could be applicable to like new benches versus the ones that are existing. You don't pay for those things. But the price of putting a dedication on the bench is the same for both situations. So you don't have to deal with like a depreciation. It's just if it's there, you won't have to pay for the installation, but you can't be guaranteed 10 years or something. And if it's new, you have to pay for the whatever footings and shipping and installation, but then we can guarantee it for 10 years. I'm just thinking there could be a less burdensome middle ground there that isn't like trying to calculate how long that bench has been there and all that.
so what's the cost for the existing
Put those
bench?
prices back up, will you? Please?
Well, none of these, what you had in here was
I mean, they're gonna
installation.
vary,
I don't
don't get me
know,
wrong.
I don't think this had the cost of a bench dedication.
Go to the examples, and
Okay.
you'll see some of them.
Okay, so we got plaques that, I mean, okay, so the $49 is the QR code, and we're getting away from that, so
I
still,
would focus on the 89.
but still, yeah, we've got new benches over there, and for $89, I can get my name on it? I
No,
No, that's just the raw cost
It would
of
be,
the-
that's just the cost of plaque. So to put your
Yeah.
name on it,
We charge a
we
premium.
charge, well, the bench was 879.
You can charge the whole thing?
We'll
I mean,
round
the
up and
purchasing the
say
bench?
it's $1,000, right?
But we talked about an existing. You
That
go
would-
to put it on an existing one, what's it costing them then?
We would just have a cost to make it.
I'm
We have a flat
advocating that we
cost.
don't do existing benches.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make that very clear. I think it's gonna get really complicated for staff, for the donor. I think you're gonna have
I
people
agree.
who donate something and go, we have no idea how long this is gonna be there, and then when it goes away, let's say it's a memorial in honor of someone's, let's say it's in honor of a person who's still alive, that person passes away, this bench is now eliminated because it only had 2 more years of a lifespan anyways. Now, I mean, it's just.
If
Also,
someone
I
wants
have
to do
everyone
that,
move
I
their
have a hard time
microphones.
saying no. Like,
Yeah,
if they
right.
wanna pay the
They're literally
full
picking the bench out.
dedication, and like, I have a hard time saying like, well, no, we won't.
And it
Well,
could
they
be
can buy a
somebody
new
that
bench.
maybe replaces or pays for the bench, the new bench, because they want to continue in that spot. It's sort of like they have dibs on it. The old
I
bench.
agree with Jessica.
I think it's a
New
missed
benches only, if
opportunity,
they wanna
but
Yeah.
purchase a
to
bench
keep things
and have it
simple,
placed.
we could just start with what we already have here, which is let's just figure out the cost for the new benches.
And revisit.
And that this is an opportunity that we can do later. It's a separate program, right?
Start the program and just new.
Right, and
Yeah.
then know that this is something we should look into.
So park enhancement program, we focus on new, and then work on developing a different program for existing?
Mhm.
Or once this is.
Or exploring
once this-
that?
We
Once
add
this,
Once we have
an
so many
addendum or
benches.
something,
yeah, once this process started,
So not right now.
Right.
But keep it on the list.
Yeah, everything is on the list.
So then what do we want to pay for what do we want people to pay for new benches then? The full cost or a subsidized cost?
And I am gonna have everyone move their microphones a little closer to their mouths. I was told that only myself and Chair Christensen are easy to hear right now.
That's good.
Probably because I yell and,
So at this point, okay, we've got the costs in here, and the bigger cost is the concrete, correct?
yes.
Then, depending on what benches we decide
So
on.
what's the cost of the install? Like what's our all-in cost is concrete, shipping, cost of the bench, cost of the plaque, and then the install, right?
You could be looking at, for a bench,
Just use a 6-foot as an option.
2,500 to 3,000.
Can I make a motion?
You think we're there?
On this one
Try, give
item,
it a
on
try.
this one item, I was gonna say, I would make a motion to have the donor pay for the plaque, either $89 or $199, and then split the cost of the shipping, the concrete foot padding, and the bench. Because we would still be benefiting, because they'd be paying for half of that, and the city would pick up half of that. But they're paying for their own plaque, the legacy plaque.
First, I don't think we should allow the 199 plaques. You said they're more for like a brick building or something you would put on. So I think
Okay.
they're obnoxiously
So-
large for a bench.
So amend it to just the $89 plaque then, and then splitting the fees for the bench, the concrete pad, and the shipping cost with the donor, and the donor would pay for their own plaque at $89. Or whatever that fee would be, if there's tax or whatever.
Did you look at other, is that typical?
What
With
do other
other
cities do?
benches, we're looking more like 1,500, so I don't think that they're charging people for the concrete pads. Something else I would note, if we could, the cost stuff won't be in the policy proper. I don't think that they're reflected in there at least.
I think if I were,
change, so.
So do we want that to be included in there?
Well, that's
I
why,
think that could be a separate thing, because as the policy evolves, I mean, the pricing is gonna be dependent on what the pricing is each year. So that wouldn't have to be something that gets updated in the policy every time.
Mhm.
So if you're making a motion, I don't necessarily, I think, need a motion on that, just feedback on that is helpful.
Okay.
And then I can get the cost estimates with specific enhancements figured out for the January meeting. Right now, if I could get a motion for potentially the policy, if there's any adjustments, changes to that, that would be what I start with, and then these are just notes that I can use as
I
I.
just want feedback.
okay,
Does that help kind
Yeah.
of clarify that?
that does.
I do appreciate the motion. I love that you have so much faith in it.
So are we okay with are we okay with sending the PEP to city council?
With that extra stipulation about,
And then the next step would be, do we want to give her more feedback on these items here? Because these items are not going to go in the PEP. Is that right?
Correct. And then the examples provided, are there any that you love? Are there any that you hate? Are there any colors that you cannot stand?
Can I ask one question? How many benches will there be? Like, say, for example, we have, just for a cost analysis.
At City Park,
Mm-hmm.
we're not there yet.
Well,
We have lighting,
we do have it listed.
Because that would potentially help us figure,
because it was furniture.
I think there was, it said no benches on one of these right on the bottom. There were no benches
For
included.
benches specifically?
They were in the
Or was
picture,
it?
no, right.
but they
yeah.
weren't included.
That's why I thought I'd ask, because we could potentially have all of the benches taken care of in the first year if people want to donate.
that's what I was thinking to gain the excitement of the park, to say, hey, we're already planning on putting in 10 benches, if you want to donate to them.
Right.
Like, but, you
Benches,
know,
we had 10 benches at 1,200 each.
Sounds a little light.
1,200?
Uh-huh.
What type of benches were those, kinda?
Well, so that's the next question.
We didn't spec them, but that's a typical cost we use for,
Just the bench or
It's
that's the
just
total
the
cost? Oh, okay, so that's reasonable then.
yeah, I feel like if I were if I were a donor, I wouldn't want to be paying 60+% of the cost on the concrete pad and footing. So I know we were talking about the policy, so I'll try and stick to that. But when we do get to that conversation, and if it influences the policy and the split,
So I think we're okay on the policy. Is that right? So I'll make a motion that with these changes, that we can send it to city council for review or approval, whatever.
Recommend approval.
Recommend
of the
approval.
PEP with the changes
With the changes
to city.
to city council.
I would second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
right?
Okay, so that passed. So now, what were you saying, John, on the?
Yeah, when you said other cities might cover the concrete pad, I thought that seems more appropriate. If I were a donor, and I had this cost associated with this memory, I would want it to be more for the bench itself and the plaque. And then, you know,
So the
the
bench
city itself.
plus the plaque, plus the install.
Yeah, just not the concrete pad.
Okay, So
And
yeah,
I
probably
think the
to
ones that
north.
like, yeah, like City Park, we should have spots already designated. We shouldn't be pouring new. I would hope we would plan ahead to have spots
Yeah.
already poured.
Yeah,
Maybe in the
right.
future, we're like, if
That's
you wanna
true,
put a
yeah.
bench somewhere random,
Then-
maybe you do need to help us with the concrete. But if we're like, something that's already planned out, there shouldn't be. I agree with you, it should be, the concrete should
Just
be.
to make it more appealing,
Yeah.
at least for
So
the park
it's gonna
itself.
be about $1,000 then, right? That's, okay.
Well,
Because the bench, I'm just picking the first couple
bench
benches.
is like 1,000, could be. Depends on, yeah.
Oh, I suppose because you gotta ship it too.
So probably 15 to 2,000, yeah. Which is,
Okay.
it seems reasonable.
Yeah, that seems reasonable, yeah. Do we have any information on how these benches sell? Like, are we going too low if people are willing to pay $3,000 for these benches to get their name on it? Do we have any info on that?
On what?
Like from other cities possibly?
So that was, I think what Commissioner Erzberger asked was approximate cost that other cities were doing, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes, and more like what's the demand for these benches? Like if we put $1,000 price tag, are we gonna sell them all out and be like, well, shoot?
I sure hope so.
You didn't ask enough though.
Oh, yeah, right, but now we missed out on $1,000 bench, because we
I
should have
would
been saying 2,000.
Honestly, I think it's dependent on your community, on what someone is willing to pay. I would maybe compare median incomes, I guess.
The
I
economy.
can't, I don't know what someone
Well, with rising
necessarily
interest
here
rates,
faces.
maybe we should go a little lower.
I can tell you, like I said, I was seeing about 1,500 for a bench in most other cities.
Okay. So I like that idea. Pay for the bench, pay for the shipping, pay for the install, and
The black.
the $89 plaque.
When you say the install, if it's our staff doing it, are we having them pay for,
Oh, because then it's just staff time?
well, I mean, just staff time again?
Well, then I'd say no, just leave that out.
Staff can,
Yeah, that's just part of their job. Right?
I think so.
Okay, so,
I mean, if we're hiring outside services, then that's different.
You
yeah,
could quickly get above that $2,000
Yeah.
point if we.
okay, so, yeah, plaque, bench, and shipping,
And then the city
I think that's
pays for
reasonable.
concrete.
concrete and install.
And hopefully plan
Yeah.
ahead so we're not pouring concrete for all these new benches.
Well, yeah, 'cause if we look at what's there,
So,
what they're
just
looking at here.
to clarify, so in this program, we will have spots designated that, hey, we'd love to have a bench here, but we did not put one in. Or someone could say, here's a good spot for a bench, right? Those are
Correct.
two things that could
Yep.
happen. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. All right. So what does everyone think about the example benches?
Benches by Cracks Drinking Fountain. And bricks, but I don't have pictures of the bricks, I just have a few different vendors as reference points for cost.
Oh, the bricks where you put it in the ground.
Mhm, bricks and pavers.
I like that.
So that kind of goes back to my first question, was like, are these all benches approved by, that would be provided by their contractors?
I went through,
Like it'll be listed on the website, is that what you're, when they go to this?
Yeah,
Carrying
like whatever we
website.
choose for that, so, like,
For the park
Jeff?
itself, to match, right?
yeah. And then we're choosing for benches that could go anywhere, but there's a separate one for the
Right,
park one, right?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, if there's a certain view that you would like the park, any of the parks to have, this is your opportunity to provide me that feedback.
Yeah, we haven't picked one out yet, as far as I know.
Right, and I'm
But-
not looking for a motion on which one specifically tonight, I really am just looking for, am I going in the right direction? Are these none of the ones you want? Does this need it exactly?
I like the first one on
I do
7A2. It's kind of just classic, and it looks comfortable. The second one looks like something you might see at like a basketball game or something, not very comfortable
Or a 1990s park.
or something. Yeah, and I don't like the other two because they're not attached to anything, and I think we need to have them attached to a concrete pad.
Now, to be fair, these could all get attached.
Bolted
and
Oh,
down.
okay,
Don't look at the bottoms of it.
okay.
Now, if they don't have armrests, it'll either say no or optional. I'm trying
And I
to pull
like
up
the
the
look of
benches
this,
for you guys.
this one here.
Which
Yeah,
one?
If it could be bolted down,
Yep,
black with
The
the wood tone looks
two-tone-
nice.
yep, that's
yeah.
Or-
pretty too.
Okay.
pieces.
The
one
recycled
I like.
plastic makes sense.
Yeah.
Either of these?
Nope, for me,
Not the one on the right.
keep going.
Not the
Not the
one
one
on
on the
the
right.
I like the
No.
one on the left.
I like the one on the left too.
Left's the one, okay.
Are we all in
It looks
agreement?
kind of though, it looks like you'd be laying back looking at the stars, at the angle of it.
I kind of like that though.
You might want to do that sometimes. in the park.
I'm-
Especially
as-
if it's
as-
at
as-
night.
I don't know, I guess.
As the old guy in the group, I like armrests.
I do like
Getting,
armrests.
getting up and getting down is
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be an issue.
So have
for
some armrest
folks, so-
options, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes to armrests.
Armrest. And,
I mean, that one's fine.
the price varies significantly by length of the bench. And, I'm generally in favor of a longer bench, I think.
I'd recommend at least 6 feet.
At least
4
6.
feet is very short.
Very short, very
Yeah.
small bench.
Yeah, 6 foot or more.
It's more a chair.
And I think the ones at Wildflower Park are like on the second page on the right. But I think,
There
that-
it is, this one.
The one that. Hit the next.
Really nice.
Sorry, I'm trying to
No, that's okay, you don't
troubleshoot.
have
You're doing 2 things at once?
Trying to troubleshoot some sound issues
I
still.
think they're more like the ones on the right there.
The Wildflower Park benches?
Yeah.
Very similar to this one,
For that one?
except
Okay.
it might have 3 on the top and the bottom.
And the difference between those is that right one doesn't have armrest option, where the left one does.
Yes.
Okay. So that limit, that's good.
So do we prefer one of those more than the other?
I like the two-tone look. That, it looks classier, I guess, in so many ways.
I kind of like the one on the right, but I wish we could find one that would allow for armrests. Because it looks like it fits the park better.
Yeah, I like the design of it, but you can't get 8 feet, you can't get armrests.
Yeah. So another one similar to that, but with armrests and 8 feet.
Are we all in
As
agreement that
options.
that's kind of the main one?
Which one?
The one on the right.
Can we have 2 different styles or not? Or is that the only style we can go with?
I'd like to see a 6 and 8 foot on that one.
I would say it's up to you. Keep in mind if they're kind of near each other, it might look kind of wonky to have 2 different kinds of benches, but
Well, we could decide not to do that though, right?
Mhm.
Like we could decide to have like the one on the first page could be near the, maybe near the building at City Park. And maybe these are out further away.
Like City Park, I think they should all be the same,
Yeah.
but I
I
think we
agree.
could have different options for other areas if we
Yeah.
identify for
Yeah.
benches. But I do like that one. I wonder what it looks like with arms though,
Yeah,
because that looks really clean.
The Stargazer?
The first one.
the Stargazer.
Yeah, the Stargazer, yeah.
the first one or,
The first one, yeah.
wait, this one?
No,
This
it's
is
the
first
back,
page.
the first page,
Difficult for
the
an
first
old
bench.
person to get
Ah,
on.
okay.
We like that one.
The way it,
So look for that one with armrests, come back with this one with armrests.
Sure.
and longer. It only says,
6 feet.
4 and 6.
Yeah.
sorry, I'm on
So
the
an
wrong
8
page,
foot
but
version?
yeah.
If you just can't find it, the one on the left isn't bad either.
Yeah, it's not too.
Yeah.
And then we get into drinking fountains.
Are they all this way?
I was just gonna say, is there any other options?
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to show any of the concrete ones because if you've been down to the park, they got vandalized pretty good. It looks like someone took like a sledgehammer to some of them and yeah, it just makes it really.
What if someone takes a sledgehammer to these?
I mean, yes, but I haven't seen the one down at the park get a sledgehammer taken to it.
Okay.
That one
We
doesn't
do
even
have
work.
one of these down at the park,
I
something
haven't
similar.
seen
It's
it.
more cylindrical versus,
The concrete, isn't it concrete?
we have some concrete ones, but then we did get one from a grant back when Zoe Kesselring was here, before my time. But it got installed, I think, in 2018 or 19.
Where's it located?
It's down by Meister Field.
Oh, okay.
It's green, I think.
Okay.
I love the option of having a water bottle to
Mhm.
refill your water
Yeah.
bottle. I
Yeah.
think that's a
Yeah,
huge
everybody
plus.
has water bottles.
Yep.
How dedicated are you to the dog dish?
Not
I like the
dedicated.
concept.
It's nice, but
Yeah.
I feel like you could just fill up your dog dish.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's fair. I wanted to
And-
show it just so that I didn't leave it out in case anyone
Honestly, I
had big
could see that
feelings.
more of a spot where dogs could maybe lift their leg than actually take a drink of water. I don't know.
Dog
And
toilet.
then-
Good thinking.
Yeah.
Gross but not wrong. Bike racks, so we went through bike racks a while ago. These are a lot of the same bike racks because I pulled it from the previous packet.
Which was installed over at Wildflower, which one?
Looks like
Like
this.
that one?
I think it was that,
A
this
loopy
one.
loop one?
But it's only got 3 humps.
Where would the
Is
bike
it like
racks be
power coded
located?
and
So
stuff?
was it this one?
I don't know.
You said it only had 3?
It's smaller, yeah.
Okay, then it was this one. 'Cause this is,
And is it a silver color or you know, or galvanized, or is it power coated paint?
It's silver, but I don't know if it's.
I think if you go to the next, one of these following pages, they have colors.
Meaning the one at Wildflower?
Oh, okay. I don't know what
Do we
that
know what
is.
we ordered?
It's
on?
silver, and I don't know if it's powder coated or just galvanized. I don't know.
thank you, you say it a lot more often than I do.
Jess, where would the bike racks be located in the park areas?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Where would the bike racks be located? Like, would there be one by the main building? Obviously, there'd be one by the actual park itself. Would there be one by, like, I don't know, by the pickleball courts?
Do we have
There.
Yeah.
We talked about between the building and the splash pad, where people might
I
bike
think
in and get off their bike.
2, maybe 3, I think is what we said.
Yeah, we could have one by the,
Pickleball, I think is what we
yeah,
said.
where the trail connects to the parking lot. Spot too.
So, not a lot, not an excessive amount, but like generally by the playground, building, and probably by pickleball.
Just
2 or
that.
3 maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
My feedback would be at least, I would go even a little bigger than this as a minimum size.
So maybe the,
At
This
least,
one?
yeah, at least that size. Because even, I mean, I walked by Wildflower Park and I counted 15 bikes strewn about. So it's like, when you think with playgrounds or splash pads, with like, I think you get, we need some bigger racks.
I'm assuming based on previous feedback that this is still not preferred.
That's
No,
terrible.
that's awful. I like the Arches bike rack.
So then not this one either?
No.
You got color options. This is, I think, just part of the page. I think we had talked about this, but we had also discussed that it showed 2 pivot bike racks, so it would be double the cost, I believe. Michelle, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Friedrich, you were saying this one.
Chairperson.
Well, I think that's cool because you could actually combine 2 of them together and have it be longer or bigger, like side by side.
I think the
I
kids
like
would be
that
thinking
too.
something to
I
play
think
on.
that's cool. Or, yeah.
Dual
Not that you
purpose.
necessarily want that.
That's a lot of install, yeah.
Oh, yeah, think of the cement pad on that probably has to be bigger.
You would need more of them to get the same amount of bikes. Like that, for that cost, you're not gonna get as many bikes as the other one.
Mhm.
But it looks a lot better.
I think so
I
too.
think we should just stay consistent with what went in at Wildflower, unless,
Fine with it. And how many were we
Maybe.
talking, like 2?
2 to 3 in City Park.
I mean,
it's
Just
like,
a comment.
You guys like these ones?
Wildflower Park, it's a development,
Hmm.
and kids are gonna ride their bike to the park. We're not gonna get as many here.
Oh, you get many, because there's right across the street from the development.
Over here, yes.
Yeah, in City Park.
That just straight across.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but
there'll
until
be a bunch,
there's,
yeah.
first of all, I don't know that there are many young, isn't that kind of a
I don't know.
older community over there?
Is it?
I don't think Brush Creek is I mean, I don't know the people all who live there, but I don't think it was established for
As
an
a-
older
Okay.
community.
I mean, we'll get them from there for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
for sure, once there's a crosswalk and, or something
And it's also gonna be on the
Entrance.
Hennepin County Trail, on the
crossing.
Three Rivers Trail.
The Diamond Lake Regional
So-
Trail.
Once we get a crossing of some
It'll
sort,
be,
yes. you
that'll
know.
increase them.
And included as part of the Diamond Lake Regional Trail, we were a trailhead, one of the top trailheads that they offer, so they have like an A, B, and a C or something like that. This one would, in their original plans, and I don't think anything's changed, but it would be like a bike repair station, a wayfinding station, like this is
Cool.
one of the
What they
highest
do.
levels, so the bike racks would be for our area of the park more than likely, and then they would have their own separate
Have
thing.
some there.
Down
Okay.
the way, of course, though, that's when we can finally get a trailhead and we can have enough trail length that that becomes a reality. So what I'm hearing is the 7-foot, 4-inch contemporary bike rack is the preference?
With
That's,
either,
is that the 7 foot there? How many loops?
I think there's one more loop on the longer one.
stand by.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Look at all them colors.
This,
Yeah.
I prefer the arches.
I do too. What's the cost of that one? Sorry. No, I meant though. Okay. Look up in your packet here. For this one.
This-
They don't have cost for that, do they?
for the arches,
Oh, here, it says $675, and then those are
Yeah.
And
602
holds 4
is
bikes,
the
right?
6 to 9, 8,
Well, it
10.
depends on the configuration, so you could get more in there. And I don't know, I just think it would look cool with the, well, I like playground option A, we haven't gotten there yet.
so maybe get more information on the loop ones?
Sure.
I'll bring back more information on the loop ones and on the 7-foot, 4-inch. That concludes,
As far as color, keep it neutral, metal or black, or match the equipment if we go with red or green or something. That would be my say on that.
Nice.
Okay. And the drinking fountains, can we get any less obnoxious colors on that?
yes.
Okay,
I was
Thank
more
you.
looking at,
all right,
The style.
that's good.
Yeah.
I won't bother you anymore on
So
that.
which one did we end up
Like
with?
a tree base or something, it's just so
think we
ugly.
just
There had to be more
The
options.
one with the bottle filler?
I will get
Yeah,
you different,
And no dog.
Or silo,
Spring?
dog.
Yeah,
We can just paint it
get
like a
custom
salad.
made,
a little
yeah.
mini silo.
Well, we
I
could
don't
do
know.
like a custom paint
Oh,
job.
sure, yeah. Put a mini city logo on there.
That looks like a little silo.
Thinking big, not boring.
Okay, I think that's good.
and I got my
comments.
motion for that, so we should be good there. Anything on bricks? Does anyone have a real passion for bricks, or can I just go with the cheapest one that looks like the best quality and?
Yeah, actually, the bricks out in the Memorial Garden are failing.
They're failing?
Bricks. Sorry, where are the bricks?
Out in the Memorial Garden.
Or where are the ones you're talking
We
about?
haven't
Here.
seen any yet.
Yeah.
It's just the back
Oh,
page. I
just-
didn't provide any
I know, I was looking.
photo examples. They all look pretty much the same.
Like multicolored and like all red or all yellow or, I don't know,
Not
maybe
a yellow brick.
we overgrow, kids would love it. I don't want it.
Do you need examples of bricks?
You know,
Is there a color
I
preference?
think we should, you know, I think I would like to have us take a look at those bricks out there. If they're gonna not last very long, and those went in a while ago, but I was still an old man even then when it would have been. Then maybe we don't wanna do bricks in that, out in the element. We wanna do bricks on a wall, or some other way of doing that. Having stuff that looks worn out is not a good thing.
How long have those been there? You don't,
Well, I suppose it's been 10,
Years.
it's,
At least 10
at
years.
least 10, more than 10 years, I
yeah.
suppose.
And so like concrete, how long does that, before you start seeing tree roots and stuff? And so I'm just
Yeah, I
arguing.
mean, maybe they just weren't top-end bricks,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But that is, it's a hard environment out there,
Yeah.
right at ground level.
And I mean, where are we talking for? Because like, do we have to determine all the bricks, or how does that work? They take out a brick and then put in one that's engraved?
For now, I envision them still out here. We currently
Oh,
don't
okay.
have any
Good.
options. I have
Just
not
keep
sold a
this.
single
Same-
brick
same
since
brick.
I've been here because we don't have a policy fully. And I was handed some of the old information, but honestly, at this point, I could not even tell you where that is. It's somewhere in my desk.
So put it on the list.
Should we push the brick off until we're replacing those bricks, or we have a spot to put them?
I think we could fit more bricks
Oh, yeah.
in the memorial.
Oh.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, there's plenty of
Okay.
spots, yeah.
I would lean towards just go with a similar looking brick to what we have. Try to find higher quality if you can. Is that good?
Yeah,
Excellent.
similar high quality brick.
So next is city park survey, but can we go out of order? So
We can, but if we hit this first, then we can skip 2 slides of their presentation. Because I will
Yeah,
be
we can do that
presenting those
then.
2 slides anyways.
let's do that then.
Okay, so the city park survey closed back towards the end of November. We had 197 responses, 194 of them were online, 3 of them were in person during our open house. The primary amenities that were reflected as preferred were the playground, the splash pad, and the park building in that order. Alternate amenities were the detached shelter, bituminous trails, and third playground container in that order. Preferred vegetation by far was the shade trees. Splash pad, by far the theme preference was nature, and the sprayer preference by far was above and below ground sprayers. Playground prioritized equipment in order was slides, climbers, zip line, which I thought was kind of funny because
Yeah.
we had quite the discussion about zip lines.
Yep.
There was a strong preference for individual swings. The other swings, I think, fell within 20 votes of one another, like the top end and the bottom end, anywhere in between 20. Tall embankment slides and hillside climbing loops were really big preferences for encapsulating some of the amenities in the hill. And then shade trees near seating areas were also a big preference. Other requests that we saw from the survey was a dog park / off-leash area. At this point, this is not surprising, that's part of why we want to do that dog park survey. Unfortunately, I do not have it ready yet. I did start it and then got pulled into other things. So I just have to go back to it and finish it, but hoping to get that up in January. Pickleball facilities were a big request. Trail connections, so referencing Rush Creek and other parks throughout the city and just general traveling. Restrooms and drinking fountains were big, and then seating and picnic areas were also preferences. As far as demographics go, of the 197 responses, 179 were residents of Corcoran, which came out to about 90% of respondents reported living in Corcoran. Can I verify that? No, but I'm hoping people are honest. Size of the household, you can see up there, majority were either adults only or adults with 2 to 4 children, also kind of interesting to me. And then majority of the respondents were 35 to 44. No next steps are requested of you guys for this. Informative only, unless you have additional questions, but we also have 2 slides included in the presentation that the 3 of us are going to kind of tag team, and we can go through that more there, or if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
All right, let's move on to the city park design review.